She didn't see me when I walked in. Not at first. I stood just inside the bar, letting the night air cling to my jacket for a few more seconds before stepping fully inside. It was a trendy rooftop place in Atlanta. Low lighting, exposed brick, houseplants hanging from pipes, people talking too loud over expensive drinks. The kind of place Becky had been frequenting more and more in the last few months. The kind of place I would have hated a year ago. Now I hated it for entirely different reasons. She was seated near the middle of the bar, angled just enough that I had a clear line of sight. I stayed in the shadows at first, watching. Not proud of that, but it's the truth. She was laughing. Not politely or nervously. Not the type of laugh you give to make someone feel good about their dumb joke. This was one of her real laughs. Full-bodied, head tilted slightly back. The kind of laugh that echoed over the music. I remember the first time she laughed like that with me. I remember thinking I'd never get tired of hearing it. That was 7 years ago. Things change. The man sitting across from her was leaning in too close. Way too close for a colleague. He was one of those clean-cut startup guys. Perfect stubble, tailored blazer, no tie, expensive watch that he probably looked at every 10 minutes to remind himself he was important. His hand brushed hers on the bar. She didn't pull away. That's when I moved. I didn't make a scene. I wasn't there to scream or shout or demand answers. I was done with that part. I just walked, slowly, calmly, through the bar until I reached them. Neither of them noticed me approaching. She was too busy being charmed. He was too busy doing the charming. When I got to the table, I didn't say anything. No drama, no monologue, just action. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the object I'd been gripping since I left the house, and set it gently on the counter in front of her half-empty glass. Her wedding ring. The one that used to sit on her finger like it belonged there. The one that had been missing more often than not these last few weeks. I'd found it in the drawer by the sink this morning, nestled between a bottle of allergy pills and a receipt from Whole Foods. Like it didn't matter anymore. I didn't place it with force. I wasn't trying to humiliate her. I just returned it. Returned it to the place she seemed to want to be more than home. She didn't notice it right away. But he did. He looked up at me first, eyebrows raised. A flicker of confusion, quickly replaced with a smug smirk, like he was amused by the drama about to unfold. Becky's eyes followed his. Then she saw me. The color drained from her face. Not entirely. Just enough for someone who knew her well to catch it. She blinked. Her hand twitched toward the ring, then stopped halfway. "Zach?" she said, as if she wasn't sure if I was real or a ghost. I said nothing. A beat passed. 2. She recovered quickly, Becky always did, slipping back into character like it was a reflex. "Seriously?" she said, letting out a dry laugh. "You followed me here?" Still, I didn't answer. I just stood there, looking at her, looking through her. "This is a business dinner," she continued, louder now. Loud enough for the tables nearby to catch every word. "With a colleague. Jesus, Zach. You're embarrassing yourself." The man beside her smiled, small, smug. He was enjoying this. Becky turned toward him like they were co-stars in some indie rom-com. "This is my husband," she said with a breathy exhale, like the word was suddenly a burden. "Well, probably X after tonight." The guy gave me a half-hearted nod. "Tough night, huh?" I stared at him for a long moment. Not angry, not even jealous, just cold. Then I turned back to Becky. Her voice was still going, trying to fill the silence before it crushed her. "You're being paranoid again," she said, brushing imaginary lint off her blouse. "You always do this. You overthink. You make something out of nothing." She motioned toward the ring like it was a prop in a play. "This is ridiculous." She smiled like it was all some big joke. Like I had just shown up to the wrong party and everyone was waiting for me to leave. But I wasn't looking at her mouth. I was looking at her eyes. That's where the truth was. She could put on a show for everyone in the bar, and maybe they'd believe her. The poor woman with the overbearing, jealous husband who doesn't respect her independence or her job or her boundaries. She'd spin the narrative. I knew how that game worked. But her eyes? Her eyes were scared. She didn't expect me to show up. She didn't expect the ring. She didn't expect silence. I could see the calculations flashing behind her gaze, trying to find the angle, the excuse, the out. She couldn't find one, because deep down she knew I knew. I watched her reach for her drink with a trembling hand. She tried to play it off. A casual sip, a small eye roll, but she was unraveling. "Seriously, Zach?" she said again, softer this time. "You're making a fool of yourself. You said you were working late," I said finally. My voice was quiet, flat. She hesitated. A flicker of panic, quickly masked. "I am," she replied. "This is work." I nodded once, slowly. "Okay." And then I walked away, not because I was done, not because I believed her, because I wanted her to sit with it. I wanted her to sit at that bar with that guy and stare at the ring glinting under the bar lights. I wanted her to wonder who else was watching, who else might know. If this was the moment everything started to fall apart. And it was. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I'd already seen everything I needed to see. It didn't start with the bar. It never does. Affairs don't announce themselves in bright neon signs. They slide in sideways, through locked phones, late-night errands, sudden gym memberships, or a new perfume that shows up before you even notice the bottle. They unfold in whispers, in half-truths, in "you're overreacting," and "it's just a friend." And I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But I'm not stupid. 2 weeks before the night at the bar, Becky left the house around 11 p.m. Said she had a migraine. Said she was driving to Walgreens to pick up pink *lurs because we were out. I offered to go for her. She said no. Said she needed air. "I'll be right back," she added, grabbing her purse and keys like she was going for a walk in the park. I waited 5 minutes. Then I followed her. I didn't even have a plan. I just threw on a hoodie, slid into the car, and kept my headlights off for as long as I could without drawing attention. I kept back, turned where she turned, drove slow. She passed 2 24-hour pharmacies without stopping. Then she turned into a residential neighborhood, one of those upscale developments with identical 2-story homes and HOA-enforced signs on every lawn. She slowed, pulled up to the curb, and parked. Her hazard lights didn't come on. She wasn't having car trouble. A black Range Rover was already parked outside the house. Engine still warm, headlights off. She sat in her car for maybe 30 seconds, checking her phone. Then she got out. She didn't hesitate, walked up the driveway, knocked once, and the door opened immediately. She disappeared inside. No hesitation, no awkwardness, like she'd done it before. I sat there across the street, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt. 15 minutes passed, then 20. I never saw her come back out. When she got home almost 2 hours later, she had a bag of Advil and a receipt from the pharmacy near our place. It was fake. I checked the timestamp, it didn't match. I never said anything. The next morning, she made me coffee, wore my hoodie, kissed my cheek like she hadn't just spent part of the night in a stranger's house. Or maybe not a stranger. Later she claimed she was helping a friend, Amanda, someone from the gym, with her kid. Said the kid had a fever, and Amanda's ex wouldn't come help, and Becky was the only one close by. Amanda doesn't have a kid. Or an ex. When I brought that up, she brushed it off with a tired sigh. "Oh, I meant Melanie. You don't know her. Stop being weird." That became the pattern. Excuses wrapped in excuses. Faces down at dinner. Passwords changed for security. Her laptop never left her bag anymore. She used to leave it open on the couch all the time, answering work emails while we watched movies, half paying attention to whatever I was saying. That stopped. She started working weekends, or so she said. Sunday work retreats, she called them. Focus time for the startup. Investor deadlines. It didn't add up. Becky was smart, strategic. If she was going to cheat, she wouldn't be sloppy about it. But even careful people make mistakes. They get comfortable, or lazy, or maybe they want to get caught just a little. One night she came home with makeup still on and a faint smell I didn't recognize. Not her usual perfume, something muskier, expensive. Not from Sephora. Not anything I ever smelled on her before. I asked where she'd been. She said, "We went to a co-working space downtown. It's faster than Zoom." "We?" I asked. "Just the team." But she wouldn't say who. I started noticing patterns. Her phone never lit up with names anymore. Just Slack notifications. But who gets Slack messages at midnight? I checked the usage screen when she left it charging once. Instagram, Chrome, messages. Slack barely cracked the top 10. She told me I was paranoid, that I was inventing drama to feel important, that I was projecting my own insecurities. And maybe she was right. Maybe I was losing it. But even paranoia has roots in reality. That's what I kept telling myself when I sat on the couch at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, listening to her soft breathing from the next room. That's what I told myself every time I opened her laptop, hoping the password hadn't changed yet. Every time I found nothing and still felt that twisting in my gut. It was like knowing the ship was sinking but not being able to find the hole. One night, I caught her smiling at her phone. I asked what was funny. She looked up like she forgot I was in the room. "Oh, just a meme," she said, flipping the phone face down. "Show me." "It's dumb. You wouldn't get it." "I can try." "Zach, it's just a meme." She got up and left the room. 10 minutes later, I walked into the bedroom and found her deleting a thread. She said it was spam. "Random sales stuff," she muttered, holding the phone in that sideways grip people use when they don't want you to see what they're typing. She changed her lock screen the next day. Used to be a photo of us at Lake Lanier. Her arms around me, sun in her eyes, that tiny gap in her smile that she hated and I loved. Now it was just a gray background. No notifications. No proof she even had a life outside of apps. I tried to act normal, but everything felt off. The timing, the energy, the way she'd kiss me goodbye like she was clocking in for a job she hated. The way she'd flinch when I hugged her from behind in the kitchen, like physical touch was suddenly inconvenient. She never used to flinch. One night I asked her straight up, "Are you seeing someone?" She blinked. Just blinked. No outrage. No tears. No shock. Just a flat, "Are you serious?" "Are you? I can't believe you'd even ask me that." "Can't? Or don't want to answer?" She stormed off. Slept in the guest room. Told me the next morning that I needed therapy for control issues. Control issues. That was a new one. I stopped asking questions after that. Stopped giving her openings to gaslight me into guilt. Instead, I watched. I learned. I kept a notebook in the glove box of my car. Wrote down times she left, places she said she was going, who she said she'd be with. Tracked it all. Sometimes she'd say she was out with Jennifer from product. But Jennifer had moved to Denver. Sometimes she said Nick from marketing was part of the retreat. But I knew for a fact he quit in August. The lies weren't just piling up. They were sloppy. She didn't even check the stories anymore. She'd recycle excuses from weeks before, thinking I wouldn't notice. She forgot that I notice everything. That's how I am. I don't shout. I don't throw plates. I don't punch walls. I observe. I wait. I stack evidence until the truth can't breathe anymore. And maybe that's why I didn't lose it at the bar. Maybe that's why, when I finally placed the ring on the counter in front of her, I didn't explode or accuse or beg, because I already knew. The house was already on fire. I was just waiting to see how far the flames would spread. I didn't confront her right away. After the bar, I went home and sat in the dark living room for nearly an hour, jacket still on, shoes still by the door. I wasn't angry in the way movies make anger look. I was hollow, calm in a way that felt unnatural, like my body had already decided the outcome and was just waiting for my mind to catch up. She came home close to midnight. I heard the door open, keys drop into the bowl. Her heels kicked off with that familiar lazy clatter. She paused when she saw me sitting there. I didn't turn on the light. "You followed me," she said, not a question. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. She crossed her arms, defensive already. "That was unnecessary, Zach. I told you it was work." "Who is he?" I asked. She exhaled sharply, like I'd asked something unfair. "I can't believe this is what you're doing right now." "Who?" I repeated, quieter. She walked past me into the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water, hands shaking just enough to notice. She took a sip, then another, buying time. "You're tired," she said. "We'll talk about this tomorrow." "No," I replied. "We'll talk now." She turned slowly, studying my face like she was looking for cracks. Something to exploit. She didn't find any. Tears came first. Fast, controlled, but real enough to be convincing. She set the glass down and covered her mouth. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. "That was when I knew. Because innocent people don't start with apologies." "Who is he?" I asked again. She sank into a chair. Her shoulders collapsed inward like she'd finally lost the strength to hold herself together. "His name is Nick," she whispered. "Marketing. We met through work." "How long?" She hesitated. "Too long. 5 months. 5 months. Almost half a year of lies compressed into 2 words. "Did you sleep with him?" She nodded. I felt something detach inside me. Not pain. Not yet. Just distance. "Where?" I asked. "Mostly his place." "And your mom?" I continued. "The weekends you stayed over?" She wiped her face. "Lies." The word landed heavier than anything else. She started talking fast after that, like momentum might save her. How it started with late nights at the office. How he listened. How he made her feel seen. How it wasn't supposed to become emotional. "I didn't mean to fall in love," she said. That sentence hurt more than the S**X. More than the deception. Because it meant there was intention somewhere along the way. "And yet you did," I said. She nodded again. "I thought you didn't care anymore." I laughed. Not loud. Just once. "That's your excuse?" "No," she said quickly. "It's not an excuse. It's just how it felt. You were always busy. Always tired. I felt invisible." I stared at her, this woman I had built a life around, and realized she'd rewritten our entire history to justify what she'd done. "You didn't feel invisible," I said. "You felt bored." She flinched. "I worked," I continued. "I showed up. I planned. I stayed. You didn't talk to me, you replaced me." She reached for my hand. Pulled away. "I never wanted to leave you," she said. "I just wanted something for myself." "Then you should have left," I replied. "Instead, you made me live inside a lie." She sobbed then, loud, uncontained, but it felt late, like rain after the flood already wiped everything out. I stood up. "This is over," I said. Her head snapped up. "No, please, we can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I answered. "You didn't trip. You chose this, over and over." She followed me down the hallway, begging, apologizing, promising therapy, transparency, change. I stopped at the bedroom door and turned back to her. "You don't regret cheating," I said. "You regret getting caught." She didn't deny it. That silence told me everything. And that was the moment I stopped seeing her as my wife. 3 days after the truth came out, I followed Nick. I didn't tell Becky I was doing it. We weren't really speaking by then. She was still in the house, still pretending it wasn't over, still offering to cook dinner like her confession hadn't gutted the foundation of our marriage. But I didn't care what she made or said. My appetite was gone. For food, for excuses, for her. I just needed answers. And not from her. So I waited until she left for therapy. A session I doubted existed. And I tailed Nick. It was easier than I thought. He left his building around 6:10 p.m. Same tailored jacket, same smug walk like the city owed him something. No coat despite the cold. Guys like him never looked uncomfortable. That's half their appeal. He walked 3 blocks, then got into a silver Tesla. I followed at a distance, heart pounding harder than I wanted to admit. I didn't know what I was hoping to find. Some other lie, some thread to tug on that would unravel more than what Becky had admitted. He drove 20 minutes north to a residential area. Not his place, I realized. She'd said he lived alone in Midtown. This wasn't Midtown. This was suburbia. Brick homes, porch lights, kids' bikes in the yards. He pulled up to a driveway and parked. A woman was waiting on the steps. Younger, maybe late 20s. Pretty. Athletic. She smiled the moment she saw him, arms folded like she'd been watching the street for his car. He got out, walked over, and kissed her on the forehead. Then the lips, twice, like it was their thing. Couldn't breathe. This was her Nick. Becky's Nick. The guy she said she didn't mean to fall in love with. The guy who got her. The guy who never judged. He had another life. Maybe even more than one. They went inside together. Lights came on. I stayed across the street. Engine off, windows cracked just enough to keep from fogging. I watched shadows move behind the curtains. I watched them sit down on the couch together. She put her feet in his lap. He rubbed her calves like it was routine. It was routine. Becky wasn't special. She wasn't even first. This guy had a system. Same style. Same tone. Same moves. It hit me all at once. Everything she had described. How he texted her right away. How he made her feel important. How he said he was done with games. That he wanted something real. She thought he was sincere. He was just polished. The next day, I printed the photos I'd taken. Just a few clear ones. Her Nick in someone else's driveway. Her Nick kissing someone who wasn't her. Her Nick carrying groceries into another woman's house. I didn't say anything. I just left them on her pillow. When she saw them, she didn't scream. Didn't cry. She sat down slowly, the prints in her lap. Studied each one. Eyes scanning like she already knew what they showed before she looked. After a minute, she whispered, "I knew he wasn't alone." She knew, and she still went back to him. Not for love. That much was obvious now. She went back for the feeling. That intensity. The rush. The attention. The spark of being wanted in a way I hadn't offered in a long time. But it was fake. She knew it was fake. That didn't stop her. "I felt seen," she said quietly, still not looking up. "He made me feel like I mattered." "He made you feel like an option," I replied. She said nothing. What could she say? That night, she didn't sleep in our bed. She didn't sleep at all, I think. I found her at 5 a.m. sitting in the kitchen, same clothes from the day before, hair a mess, eyes red but dry. "I broke everything," she said. "Yes," I said. "You did." But I was starting to see something I hadn't expected. She wasn't just guilty. She was trapped. Not by me. Not even by the affair. By him. Nick had his hooks in her. Not through love, not even lust. Through dependency. That thing that happens when someone convinces you they're your lifeline. That they're the only one who gets it. Who gets you. She didn't love him. She needed him. Or thought she did. Because I had stepped away. Because I was a mirror now. One that showed her exactly what she'd done. And what she'd become. And Nick was still the one telling her she was worth saving. Even though he'd already replaced her. At first, I thought it was just an affair. Just betrayal. Just lies and hurt feelings and broken vows. I thought the worst of it was behind me. That I'd seen the full picture. But I hadn't. Not even close. It started with the laptop. She left it open one morning. Screen dimmed. Half closed like she'd forgotten in the rush to get out the door. I stared at it for 10 minutes before I touched it. I was tired of snooping. Tired of being that guy. The one creeping through messages, chasing shadows, trying to find something I already felt in my bones. But this wasn't about trust anymore. That bridge was ash. I had nothing to protect. Only truth to uncover. So I opened it. First, there was nothing. The desktop was clean. Too clean. No photos, no folders. Just a single icon labeled WorkSync. A company app, maybe. I clicked it. It asked for a password. I almost gave up. But then I checked the downloads folder. That's when things started to change. Receipts. Spreadsheets. Bank transfers. Some were normal startup expenses, rideshare reimbursements, pitch decks. But one folder was different. It was buried inside another, disguised as tax docs. Inside it, a spreadsheet named J22_recon final. I opened it and just stared. It wasn't taxes. It was a list, dozens of rows. Each one had a name, a date, and a dollar amount. Next to each amount, a short note. Signed. Pending. Delivered. Pullback. At the top, Nick H. I scrolled further and found initials I didn't recognize. And then her name. B. Martin. No amounts next to her, just timestamps. Transfers. File attachments. Notes like, confirm delivery, last push this week, and forward to Jennifer. Jennifer? I went to her email. She wasn't logged out. Big mistake. I searched the name. Dozens of threads came up. Some short, some pages long. Most were encrypted attachments or coded phrases. They didn't read like startup planning emails. There was no language about features or launches or user retention. It was about movement, money, accounts, pressure. There was one message that froze me entirely. J. All clean on my end. Clients seated. Nick says final pull starts Tuesday. I sent B the numbers. If this blows, I'm out. We all are. J. Clients. Pull. Seated. This wasn't business. Not the kind she ever told me about. I dug deeper. Banking app history. Her statements. Some were scrubbed, but she missed a few. There were recurring transfers, $1, $400, $3,200, one for $5,000, each going to a card under someone named NH Holdings. A shell name if I'd ever seen one. I checked the address tied to the account. It didn't exist on Google Maps. The zip was from Arizona. Becky didn't have any connections in Arizona. The final piece came from her notes app. She'd never deleted anything. Inside a folder marked personal. I found something that made my blood turn cold. A numbered list. N3K, February. J2. 5 Mar. NL link. Down. Backup. Wetran #X. Track Greg. Ask J. Pull docs. Client side. NDA fake. Send? I didn't understand all of it. But I understood enough. This wasn't just cheating. This was fraud. Not petty fraud. Not tax mistakes or misreported hours. This was a scheme. She and Nick, and apparently this Jennifer, were running some kind of client scam. Fake services, maybe, or fake contracts. I couldn't tell for sure. But Becky was involved. And not just passively. She wasn't some helpless girlfriend dragged into it. She was moving money, sending files, managing parts of the operation. She was complicit. I closed the laptop and sat there for nearly an hour. Not thinking, just existing. She had cheated on me, then gaslit me, then used me. And now this. When she came home that night, I asked her how her day was. She looked at me surprised. Fine, she said cautiously. Why? Just wondering if you heard from Nick lately. She froze. It lasted only a second, but I caught it. What do you mean? She asked. Nothing, I said. Thought he might have reached out. You two were close, right? She gave a practiced smile. Not really talking anymore. I nodded. Shame. I think he's been busy. She blinked, that flicker of fear returning. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said again. Just something I read. I didn't press her. Not yet, because I still didn't know how far this went, or how much danger we were in. It was her sister who cracked the last part open. Over coffee, she let it slip. Becky and Nick had gone to Arizona last year. Not for an investor retreat, like Becky claimed, but to meet someone who promised a big payout from a fake crypto startup. Both of them gave in $5,000. It was a scam, a bad one. When I got home, I tore through Becky's files again, and that's when I found it. An audio file buried in her iCloud drive, titled, Just in Case. Her voice was shaky. She said Nick was asking for more money, Jennifer had people, and if something happened to her, check the backup folder, the one Nick doesn't know about. She tried to back out, and now she was scared. At the divorce hearing, Becky looked calm, smug, even. Her lawyer started spinning some story about emotional distress and my controlling behavior. But I was ready. I handed the judge a flash drive. The audio file, the fake transfers, messages from Jennifer, and the client list. The courtroom went silent. Her face collapsed. She lost her job the next day. An investigation opened. Nick vanished. She tried calling me, crying, begging, threatening, but I never picked up. I'd already moved to Oregon, and I wasn't coming back.